Hello, and welcome to Insights and Observations of a Rainbow Warrior Goddess. I'm Lisa, and today is Saturday, December 15th, 2012. Normally, my videos and posts are more of an inspirational nature. Tonight, I would like to take a different tone and address a terrible tragedy that has occurred in the United States in Connecticut in the shooting of children at an elementary school. I understand a similar occurrence also happened in China, and an alleged one was stopped or prevented in Tulsa, Oklahoma as well. These types of shootings and occurrences are far too common at all. One should be far too common, in my opinion. What's not being spoken about is many things, actually. And I would like to take the opportunity to discuss and bring forth some possible options as well as other ways of looking at what has occurred. My ego is enraged with a holy rage, as any mother's is. Who could watch anyone do what they did? There are many reasons for it. First, I would like to help dispel some myth, misinformation, and fear regarding mental illness. Mental illness is nothing more than a couple of different options. One is environmental toxicity or poisoning. Two is either physical or emotional trauma and abuse that was so horrible that the mind was incapable of comprehending it or managing it in a healthy, positive manner. Not that there's any way to positively manage extreme abuse. Thirdly, there are others who have great gifts that at least our culture in the United States not only not acknowledges, but denies absolutely. Or these gifts they have not been shown how to use as well. We've lost this wisdom in our culture, at least. As a whole, my personal feelings on the situation, other than sending infinite blessings and having spent much time today either crying and allowing sadness or in group meditation with other focus groups all over the world, trying to shed love and light and peace and healing and forgiveness on this terrible tragedy. But what I would like to address is exactly a couple of the most glaring possibilities of what's occurred. Either this young man was either the victim of extreme emotional and physical abuse, or simply a byproduct of the side effects of toxic psychotropic medication, which unfortunately not really advertised or allowed in the mainstream consciousness, is a very high likelihood of either aggressive or suicidal tendencies, like we all learned in Columbine, where the children were on Prozac. It's not just one. There's many different types of psychotropics, and many people can handle them without a reaction. Many are more sensitive and have a much more extreme reaction. Another is that regardless of whether this man was abused or the victim of psychotropic medications, there's another option which most people don't want to get into, and I will put out there. I'm not saying it's personally my opinion. I don't know enough, nor have I meditated on the nature of this myself to get a deeper feeling. But what no one wants to know or recognize is that unfortunately our government and powers within it, not necessarily representative of the government, but the Pentagon or the CIA, which actually isn't even a U.S. agency, basically a private army for the banksters and other industrialists that fund and create and rule the world through their medical, military, industrial complex warmongering machine. But they do have mind control experiments, and many different citizens have been utilized as their guinea pigs to manifest awful, awful things that occur, be it the Unabomber or the gentleman who thinks he killed John Kennedy. Many and many, many more. I'm not saying this to ask you to believe me. It's just a fact. The mind control scientists of Nazi Germany came over and went straight to work for our government and have done many different things. And with soldiers and mental institutions, the movie V for Vendetta covers it in a theoretical thing, but there are way, way more dark secrets about what goes on in our country and our taxpayer dollars than anyone is willing to look at. And until we take a look at these things, they're not going to go away. I'm not saying that this young man was a victim of mind control, but regardless of whether he was or how he came to be in the situation that he was, the media is utilizing it to bring forth, as they always do with propaganda and misinformation, they're trying to put it in a light that we demand to have all guns removed. Now, I personally am not for any weapons. I don't have one. I don't intend to use one. But I certainly do believe in the right to be able to have one to protect yourself if you feel you need to, and believe that the entire spin that the media is putting on it has to do with everything, nothing to do with safety for any of us, just like the Homeland Security Act or the Patriot Act or any of the other ridiculous stripping of our personal rights that our government continues to do after they create the scenario that they have the perfect solution for, in this case being gun control laws, where they want to limit guns. The criminals always have them. Nice, decent people who wouldn't use them in a million years don't usually have them. And where are all these weapons coming from anyway, whether they're legal or illegal? My whole belief is that it's simply a ploy by the government through the media to get an holy rage going on in the country, a bunch of very uneducated, emotionally triggered people that have given their powers to the mainstream media and pundits and authorities that profess to have our greatest interests at heart while they sit here and profit on the misery of everyone on the face of the planet practically. Our government has no interest in our security, but they do have an interest in seeing that we all rally behind limiting the use of weapons. This would make it very easy for them, or much easier for them, to facilitate martial law or the imposition of it, which is one of their potential plans because of the revolutionary nature of what's going on in the world, not only our country right now. People are speaking out. They're sick of it. No more. This is not the end of the world, the Mayan calendar and all these times. It's a time of transformation. And in order to change, we're not going to have aliens pop down out of the sky and magically change it. We are responsible for creating it by giving it our power away, and we're responsible for taking our power back, looking at what's occurred, holding those accountable, including ourselves, and not punishing them, so to speak, in the manner that we've been taught, but to use it as an example for us to see just how everything we do is ass backwards. I mean, come on. Our schools in and of themselves are indoctrination centers, which have very little to do with education and everything to do with social control and indoctrination into certain belief systems, specifically the, obey authority, or this is the only one truth, or the we versus they duality, fear everyone you don't know, ego masks, which somehow work for many to let them think that whatever they want people to think, this is how it is, and I'm going to pretend this is who I am, and I'm going to pretend that what you're pretending is you, and if I pretend what's you's you, you pretend what's me's me, and we'll both agree to pretend because neither one of us has the courage, the heart, or the dedication, never mind the integrity, to hold ourselves accountable for our behaviors. And that behavior can also be not even having the courage to sit this far in this video. Sorry, that's the truth. Approximately 75% have probably already turned this video off, unless you're a follower or a friend on Facebook or one of my spiritual or social activism outlets. Cheers to you if you're still online or watching my video. But what I'd like to say, times are changing. It is now time to look at this darkness, not through banning weapons. How about Mr. Obama? I dare him to have a sit-down conversation with me. I have never seen, I've seen better acting jobs, but his was great. But I'm sorry, I'm clairsentient and cognizant and empathic. That man was as inauthentic as they get. And a hypocrite. I mean, where are his crocodile tears for all the children, innocent children and people that our military murders every day for years at our taxpayer expense, because him and all his cronies that are being either paid off or profiting themselves from the war machine and our hatred and separation. You know, the whole belief that, you know, and the fear. I started to say that the fear of belief that others are different and to fear them for their differences. Look, it's only going to get stronger. These energies coming in, all these things are coming out. Awful things, be it personally or globally. Ugly, yucky things that we've suppressed because we don't look at them are coming out to be healed. Either engage with them and thank them for their powerful lesson and resonate. Forgive yourself and forgive those who've done them. We will all hold each other accountable, and we will do the right thing, and we will grow and move forward. Hatred and violence beget more hatred and violence, and ignorance is astoundingly everywhere right now. Thank GodDess for the awakening that's occurring, and the heart opening, and the consciousness pouring into the grid for those that have the courage to speak out. In my country, I can even be silenced, arrested, and broken into and withheld indefinitely for speaking my truth about one of the greatest terrorists on the planet, the U.S. government. I fear not. I am not a terrorist unless you utilize George Orwell's definition of being a revolutionary, because he says speaking the truth in times of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. Time for a revolution of love, not for murdering poor, abused, I'm not even going to assume, but with the situation with the gentleman's young mother being very controlling, perhaps not only was she emotionally abusive, but physically. Or she could have been. It's very common for those who molest their children or abuse them to hide their children within the mental health system to prevent themselves from being held accountable by saying it's all made up and crazy. And that it's not founded in anything. It's also very common for them to do so because that way they get to plead that they're the poor victim of some awful, awful dis-ease. I'm sorry. We all create all disease within our body, consciously or unconsciously. But what we think, feel, eat, how we act, how we speak, the choices that we make. There's no such thing as disease catching us. We create it and manifest it. We need to take responsibility for that. Alcoholism, for example, it's not a disease. It's an expression of a disease, but it is not the disease itself. It's simply a way of self-medicating oneself so they can handle something that they're trying to suppress that they don't have within their capacity mentally to handle or emotionally. And in this world, if you pay attention to anything in the U.S., mainstream or television or otherwise, absolutely emotional abuse is condoned as normal behavior, accepted just the way it is. Survival of the fittest, kill or be killed. Not in the world I'm raising my child in. And no longer. Times are coming now. We need to come together around this issue, not explode apart. And we need to start holding our government accountable for lying, or we ignore them. I personally believe it's going to implode all upon itself, and don't waste my time as a political activist in any way, much more a social activist, yes, and spiritual. I'm more interested in creating the very systems that will replace them as they implode upon themselves. So I ask you all to join me and others at noon and 6 p.m. until December 21st with the intention of meditating for 15 to 20 minutes on love, peace, and unity consciousness. May we all heal and come together through these times. Peace, love, abundance, and joy, and blessings to all the families that lost their children yesterday. Love you.